Well, Sora has finally released. Undoubtedly, this is the most dramatic of all of the AI video generators, since it has literally had its own story arc, being introduced as essentially the savior to all, then falling from grace with some, disastrous mainstream PR, to today where it may be the hero that we've all hoped it would be, or perhaps the villain that we feared all along. Let's dive in and find out. The curtain has finally been lifted, and yes, as of today, we can now go to Sora.com. And once you're there, you can begin generating, and frankly, you can wait for a while. So first off, this appears to be the Sora Turbo model, which we did hear about just a few weeks ago. This is a streamlined and optimized version of the model, although it can generate up to 1080p and give you durations up to 20 seconds. So we're still not at that full 1 minute that had been promised so long ago. Still, I gotta say, 20 seconds is a pretty good amount of time. And there are some other things in here that lead me to believe that it'll be fairly easy to extend generations out as well. The Sora website itself actually kind of reminds me a lot of the Midjourney website, particularly with, sort of the endless scroll and feed of generations coming in. But I do appreciate the fact that you can click into any one of these generations and see what the prompt is. Briefly hopping over, and that might be a little bit how this video goes. My first generation actually did just come in, so it took about 20 minutes. I used the old channel chestnut, a man in a blue business suit walking down a busy city sidewalk. This looks pretty good. There's some inconsistencies there. As you can see with his tie, it kind of morphs outside of his jacket, and then he kind of tucks it back in it's actually a cool magic trick. But I gotta say, minus that little bit of incoherence there, everything looks pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4 and a finger. So all the fingers are present. The camera angle itself is kind of cool. I do like that sort of low angle Dutch. In terms of image to video, well, this is where we're going to get into something that I'm sure is not going to be very popular. But initially I tried generating an image that contained people and got this message, meaning that yes, you can't actually generate realistic looking people unless essentially you're on the pro plan. So, I ended up taking the hit for everybody and subscribe to the pro plan. So please, if you get a chance, do hit that like and subscribe button. Gonna need a little something extra from Uncle YouTube to offset that cost. Anyhow, just grabbing this image, which I actually just used in a short that I recently did. This was, triad gangsters running away, and running this as image to video. I actually ended up with some pretty interesting results. Definitely not what I was expecting here, especially going full black and white. The characters definitely change from the initial input too. I ran it twice. Here is the other version of it. And the second variation on it came out kind of like outtakes from a Fall Out Boy video, including some backwards running here towards the tail end of the clip. But overall, yeah, it very much seems, thus far at least, that your image referencing is more like image referencing in the same way that Midjourney image referencing works, in which, you provide it with an image and it just kind of takes inspiration from that image. You're not necessarily getting a direct first frame from it. I've got some other tests running on that right now, so we'll see how that goes as they come in. Now, a few things that I find extremely interesting in here is, for one, the ability to have sort of a storyboard layout for your video. This is really cool. So as we can see here, this is a video from Andy Wang. So thank you to Andy for providing this video to us. If we go into view story here, we can see kind of a timeline layout of prompts in which, Andy began his initial prompt here. That's the initial image generation. And then the girl raises her hand slowly at around the halfway point, which is reflected in the video. It does look like I could essentially remix this video as well and even add something into it. Like I can actually put an image prompt in here. So that is definitely a pretty interesting level of control that we have not seen from any other video generator thus far. Blend is another pretty interesting one. I'm actually just going to use this Mystical Flame Control generation by Sam, essentially to cut down on time for generation. Just to show this off, we're going to hit Blend here. And then I'm going to take this video, which was actually generated in Minimax, blend that in and see what happens. So from here, we've got some interesting options, from transition to mix to sample to custom. This is definitely going to take a lot of sort of playing around with. So I'm just going to kind of futz with this a little bit here and just sort of see what we end up getting. Let's go ahead and make a mess and see what happens. Remix is another feature that they showcase. This one kind of showing how you can turn a bunch of woolly mammoths wandering around in the desert into robot woolly mammoths wandering around a desert. So let's just give that a shot here. This is a Viking walking through mountainous snowy landscapes and try to remix that into, and we're going to kind of give this one a little bit of an easy mode with the prompt, a cyberpunk Viking walking in a cyberpunk city at night. I'm curious to see not only A, how the character changes, but B, how the background changes as well. In the interest of time, I'm going to leave this at 480. We'll give it a strong remix and fire away. Now, hopping back over to our man in the blue business suit again, because this is one of the few generations that I actually managed to get off thus far. There is a really pretty interesting feature in this recut, in the sense that, you know, we do have this issue with that tie that we noted in the beginning. What we can do is actually move this forward towards the moment that we get the incoherency with the tie, or vice versa. We can go backwards, and hypothetically all of this area should now essentially replace that, hopefully without the issue with the tie. So interestingly, circling back to image to video, one of our tests came in. We began with this image that I generated up in Midjourney and running that through Sora with the prompt man walks towards camera as people behind him take cover. We did not get that initial image as our first frame, but you know, Sora clearly understands the context of the scene, more or less some of the direction. It did not give us the men behind him taking cover. Instead, they kind of just, you know, gang up next to him. We do get a bit of a weird cut in here as well, but I will say that, you know, in terms of consistent character, yeah, I mean, that's definitely our guy. Granted, he goes from a little bit beefier in one shot to a little less beefy in the next shot. Actually, I take that back. Looking at it now, I think he's got the same level of beef. Another variation off that same image gives us this, which, again, he looks more or less consistent. I don't know what's going on with the random business guy here, or the two dudes from the orchestra that kind of join on his quest for vengeance, but, you know, whatever. But interestingly, running one of our, you know, channel mascots here, Daniela Van Den Onk, dressed as a pirate. Yeah, we do get consistent character, more or less same frame as well. So I don't know if it'll scramble or change your input image if it is based off of an actual, like, realistic looking person, but it tends to not when it's like an animated type character. So yeah, more tests definitely needed. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the deal is, as Marquise Brownlee did showcase in his review that Sora is capable of doing, you know, straight image to videos, as he provided an image of himself, and then Sora ended up animating it, although, you know, it got the physics all wrong, unless, you know, Marquise is really that bad at Frisbee football. It looks like our custom blend video has now come in. This was the thing where we took this video and we took this video and then we ended up blending them together. The results look like this, which is interesting. Again, I'm not exactly sure how to use that tool as of yet, so this was just kind of some random perimeters. Yeah. Interesting for sure. Definitely the right side version is a little more intriguing to me than necessarily the left side version. Both are interesting. I think that there's definitely a lot of creative possibility here. Whereas our man in the blue business suit edit came out a little bit on the weird side. I think by prompting in that initial frame of man in a blue business suit, we literally got a man in a blue business suit before it cuts over to the initial video. But it does so pretty seamlessly. So that part is very impressive. Editor Tim chiming in from the future. I did run it again and actually ended up with this as a result, which obviously looks a lot better. Meanwhile, our cyberpunk Viking, that was this video that we originally saw that we remixed to be a cyberpunk Viking in a cyberpunk city, came out like this. I will say that this is definitely not the same video, but once again is taking the overall idea. Another interesting output here, this once again is image to video. This was our cyberpunk woman with white hair walking down a snowy cyberpunk alley. This image was generated up in Recraft and then run through Sora. We get the actual character again in the same pose. So this is like a direct one-to-one. Really nice lighting on her face there as she kind of walks by. But that weird scramble in the beginning, I'm not sure exactly what is going on there. I really do have to give Sora props on the lighting here. Yeah, as our character walks past this storefront, I mean, even down to the catch light in her eye there. Yeah, this looks extremely accurate, looks really, really good. I was curious to see if Sora would accept this Midjourney generated image of not Pirates of the Caribbean. But indeed, no, it will not take that as an image prompt. I should note at this point that generations do seem to be speeding up a bit, taking somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 to 5 minutes at this point. Some more interesting image to video results in which I took this image, gave it the prompt, camera rotates around to reveal the figure as a weary detective, his eyes filled with rage as he looks towards the city that has taken so much from him. So this ended up being an interesting result where it just kind of held on our same image, then gave me a different angle and kind of gave me a slow zoom in. Yeah, basically for the first, I would say quarter of the prompt, we really just got our initial input image with no movement whatsoever. And then it just quickly switched angles into something that, to me, doesn't quite look as good. But I also gave it this image, which to me just screams lost 80s John Carpenter movie starring Rowdy Roddy Piper. And these results came out pretty good. It does do the thing that we saw in Runway where, the pillar boxing at the top and the bottom. Apparently these video generators really don't like pillar boxing. And another variation on that, a slightly more dynamic version of that shot with a little bit of camera movement. Again, a weird glitch in the first couple of frames here. I'm not sure exactly what that is. But again, it is launch day, so I'm not going to, necessarily dock them on this. Now, is this inherently 100 times better than, say, Kling, Minimax, or Luma Labs? I'm not sure. You guys let me know down in the comments. So overall, is this the dream video generator that we have all been waiting for? Well, to be honest, I'm not really 100% sure yet. This video was definitely much more about initial reactions to it and almost like playing with it live. And thus far from what I've seen, the outputs are definitely pretty good, with the added benefit of having the storyboard feature in here, as well as the blend feature and the remix feature. I think that those are definitely good tools that are worth exploring and might end up becoming true powerhouses. It does look like we have some good organizational tools here, which actually I very much applaud. So it's definitely going to take a lot more time for me to really dive in for a true holistic review of Sora. But overall, yeah, it's interesting. Is it $200 a month interesting? Well, I guess we'll find out soon enough. Again, please do hit that like and subscribe button. I do have a few other videos lined up for this week, but in my free time, I will definitely be putting Sora through its paces. So I will definitely come back with a full and comprehensive review on it, letting you know if, again, $200 a month is worth it. In the meantime, I thank you for watching what I can only presume is going to come out a fairly disjointed video. My name is Tim.